AITA for wanting to break up with my husband after he called our autistic son a burden and said he wants to give him up for adoption. I, 30F, have been married to my husband, 32M, for 5 years now. Like any couple, we've had our ups and downs, but nothing could have prepared me for this. Together, we have a beautiful 5-year-old son, let's call him Leo, who was diagnosed with autism 2 years ago. I knew from the moment I became a mom that it wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth having in life ever is, right? Leo may have his challenges, but he's an amazing little boy. He's sweet, curious, and despite his struggles, he's the light of my life. But lately, something in my marriage has been off. My husband, let's call him Mike, has grown distant. At first, I thought it was just stress. Parenting is tough on both of us, and trying to balance it all, work, bills, our relationship, it takes a toll. But something shifted recently, and it became impossible to ignore. It all came to a head a few weeks ago when I overheard a conversation I wish I never had. Mike was talking to a couple of his friends in the other room. They were chatting about kids, venting like parents do sometimes. And then one of his friends joked about how hard it is to raise kids these days. I expected Mike to laugh it off or agree in that typical exhausted parent way, but what I heard instead completely shattered me. Mike didn't just agree that parenting was hard. He said Leo was too much to handle. He said our son was a burden and that sometimes he wishes we could give him up for adoption. Yes, you read that right. My husband said he wanted to give up our child. I remember standing frozen in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter, so hard my knuckles turned white. At first, I couldn't process it. I thought maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe it was a joke, some dark, inappropriate humor that was supposed to be funny but just fell flat. But he kept talking, and the more he said, the worse it got. Mike talked about how he missed the freedom we had before Leo was born, how our son's diagnosis has ruined our lives, and how he feels like we're trapped in a life we didn't sign up for. He said things like, I don't know how much more of this I can take, and maybe it'd be better for everyone if we weren't stuck with this. The words stuck with this felt like a dagger to my heart. Our son wasn't a problem to be fixed. He's our child. In that moment, I felt like I was hearing a stranger. How could this be the man I married, the father of my child? When the conversation finally ended and his friends left, I confronted Mike. I was shaking, and my voice cracked with every word. I asked him how he could say those things about Leo. How could he even think about giving him up for adoption? I expected an apology, or at least some sign that he didn't really mean it. But what I got was worse. He brushed me off. He said I was overreacting. He claimed he didn't really mean it and that he was just blowing off steam. He said that parenting was harder than he expected and that he was frustrated. Everyone vents, he said, as if that excused everything. But it didn't stop there. He went on to say that he feels like Leo's autism is taking over our lives and that he's drowning under the weight of it all. He didn't apologize. He didn't take back what he said. Instead, he told me he doesn't know how much more he can take and that he feels trapped. I was crushed, devastated. I couldn't believe that the man I married, the man who promised to love and protect our family, was saying these things. About our own child, I love Leo more than anything in this world. Yes, raising an autistic child comes with its own set of challenges. There are days when it's overwhelming and I get frustrated too. But I could never imagine my life without him. I would never give up on him, no matter how hard it gets. He's not a burden. He's a beautiful, kind soul who just needs more patience and understanding. How can my husband not see that? Since that day, I haven't been able to look at Mike the same way. Every time I see him, I hear his words echoing in my head. A burden, too much to handle. Give him up for adoption. It's all I can think about, and I'm struggling to understand how we can come back from this. Part of me wants to pack my bags and leave. I can't stay with someone who sees our son that way. But another part of me feels so torn. We're married. We made vows to each other. And for 5 years, I believed that we were a team, that we'd always have each other's backs, especially when it came to raising Leo. But now I'm not so sure. I'm at a crossroads. Do I stay and try to work this out? Try to get Mike to see Leo the way I do? Or do I leave before things get worse? I don't want to break up our family, but I can't stay with someone who thinks our child is a burden. So, Reddit, AITA for wanting to leave my husband over this? Or am I justified in feeling like this is a deal breaker?